Is it? Hi, Ritesh.
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone.
All of you join. Is it? Hi, Ritesh.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, 8 people have joined so far. And how are you all? Are you able to hear me loud and clear? LNC. Thank you, Akshay. Others, are you all ready? Today we are going to cover some very important topic. Just 13 people. Okay, 5, 6 people have responded. What about others? Are you there? Okay. How many of you used Chat GPT before? How many of you would want to get AI functionality within your app? Folks, quickly settle down. Those of you who are standing, please settle down soon. Okay. So today's topic is API connector, okay, which is the way how you can communicate to the external world, right? So we will look at very basic API connections today. And during the next class, we will go in depth of how do we allow the users to connect with your APIs and get the results that they're looking for. Yeah. And how do we also save it in the database? So, sorry, let's get started. So sharing my screen. Are you able to see the screen? Okay. So for using APIs, okay, we need to go to plugins, add plugin, and the first plugin that you see on the top is API connector, right? This is the most widely used plugin in the Bubble ecosystem. So click on install. And once you do this, you can see API connector added in the plugin section. Okay. Now here is how we add the API calls. Now, how many of you know what are APIs? Type out me in the chat box. How many of you know what are APIs? Can you hear me loud and clear? LNC? So how many of you know what is APIs? If you don't know, type in don't know. Or +1, -1 in the chat box. If you know, you can type in +1. If you don't know, you can type in -1. That's fine. I just want to understand how many of you know and how many of you don't know. You don't know, okay. A few know. -1, okay, okay. -1. Okay. So great. A lot of you don't know. There are a few who knows about it. That's good. APIs is a way for softwares to communicate to each other via cloud. Okay. So it's called application programming interface, right? So like if we have to communicate to each other, we need phone numbers. Okay. Likewise, for platforms to communicate to each other, okay, they require something called URLs, right? What is the URL that they have to make a call to? Okay. Let's try to understand this with a very basic thing. I do not want to use any of the existing APIs that I know of. Okay, let's use ChatGPT for this so that you can also understand how do we start using APIs. Okay, so you can see that I've added a plugin here, which is API connector, and I'll add another API here. Okay, which is how we can add a new API to the system, right? I'll go to ChatGPT. I'll ask, share with me couple of very simple API calls without any addition, any parameters. Okay, so this is one very common example that we keep getting, right? Now, closely observe, this is what we have to call, right? Basically, we are calling this particular URL. And the way it works is you can also call it from your browser. And what it does is it gives us the result. As you can see, type is general, setup. Why don't you find hippopotamus hiding in trees? Okay, punchline, they're really good at it. Okay, did you understand what is this? I'll refresh this. We'll get the next one. What do you call a careful wolf? Punchline, aware wolf. Okay, so basically what's happening is whenever you make this particular URL call, okay, you're getting a result. Okay, and supposedly each of this result is a joke. Okay, random joke, right? So this is a very simple API call. So I'll show you how this works in Bubble. Now it's asking us for the API name. What do you want to call this particular API that we are creating here, right? So I'll create simple APIs. Okay. And we have to give a name over here. Okay. And this I'm going to put it as random joke. Right. We will come to use as data and action a bit later. We have data type. Okay. We have a lot of options like JSON, XML, stream, image, number, and so on and so forth. Here you are setting what is the output that you're getting from the API call that you're making. Okay. Most of the times the output is JSON. So you select this. But if you're getting an image as the output, then you select this and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, here we can see it has asked us to make a get call, and this is the URL that we have to call. So I'll put this as get. We have get, post, put, patch, delete. We'll start with get. I'm going to paste the URL that we got. Okay, that's all. No headers required, no parameters required. Click on initialize call. Okay. So type is general, like we saw here. Type we are getting as general. Then we have setup and then punchline, right? So type is general. We are getting setup. Where did you learn to make ice cream? Okay. Punchline is Sunday school, right? Some of them are like very poor jokes, but let's not get into the jokes part of it. Let's understand how the system works. Okay. So once you get this, click on save and your API call is ready. Okay. Click on reinitialize call. You will get the next joke. Okay. Why do wizards clean their teeth 3 times a day? To prevent bad breath. Yeah. So you can see the level of jokes it is sharing, but did you understand how the API call functions? Very basic one. How many of you understood this? Do you all want to try it from your end before we move on to the next one? Yes, I'll share the URL in the chat on both YouTube and LinkedIn. Please install the plugin API connector and start. If you have any questions, if you're not able to get anything working, please do let me. I'll help you out. So very simple, everyone. Go to plugins, add plugin, The first one will be API connector. Install that. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Done. Okay. Thank you, Harikishan. Thank you, Karthik. Others? Akshay says done. Anyone facing any issues? Ayush says none. Okay. Likit done. Okay, great. Thank you. How about people on YouTube? Plus one says Gautam. Okay. One more done. Okay, good. Okay. Anyone else who's done? Anybody facing any issues? Okay. Let's go to the next step, right? So we added a very, very simple API call, which didn't have any parameters, right? It's just a URL that we called, right? So let's go to the thing. So we have some cat facts API call, right? So let's see this. Again, this is a get call. So if I take this URL and if I paste it in the browser, you can see that fact we have got is cat's urine glows under a black light. I didn't know that. Okay. Anyways, so the next fact is when your cats rub up against you, she's actually marking you as hers with her scent. If your cat pushes his face against your head, it is a sign of acceptance and affection. Okay. So now let's try to implement this within Bubble. Very simple. Click on add another call. Let's call this as cat pack. It is a get call that we want to make. URL is this one. Okay. And we're getting JSON as the output. So I'll mark it as JSON. Click on initialize call. Okay. So what we have got is Spanish Jewish folklore recounts that Adam's first wife becomes a black vampire cat. Okay, let me just reinitialize this one. Test done by the behavioral department of the Museum of Natural History concludes that while a dog's memory lasts about 5 minutes, a cat's recall can last as long as 16 hours. Okay. Some facts about cat. So there is a platform called catfact.ninja. Okay. And slash cat is where we are getting this fact from. Some random facts. Okay. So please implement this one as well. Very simple call, both of you, all of you. Once you're done, type out done in the chat box or +2. Hare Kishan, thank you. Karthik, thank you. Once you're done, type out. Done, guys? Everyone? Can we move on to the next one? Hello, folks. Can we move on? Okay. Now let's see a couple of API calls with single parameter. So we're now looking at something with single parameter, right? So this is like request to AG5 API predicts age from name. I have no clue how this works, but this is a random thing, right? You can see the single parameter is name with the value Michael. Okay. So again, this is random. This is just to show you how the parameters work, nothing else. Okay. So you can see here, So we give some name and it will respond back with name, age, and count. Okay. So if we go here, again, add another call. And this is get age. Again, get, right? You can see here name equals to Michael. This is the parameter. Okay. So let's make a call to this one. We get the JSON value. Count is 298219. Name is Michael and age is 64. Right. Let's try to make the same call again. Let's say 64. Okay. We're getting the same results. Okay. We can change the name. So if you want to make this dynamic, right now we have to come over here and make the change. To make it dynamic, you have something called use square brackets for parameters, right? So what we can do is we can add square brackets and put this as name. Now this becomes a parameter, right? We can add the name here. If I add Pratesh, right? And if I initialize this call, right? So it says 51 with count 1168. Okay. Now this is one parameter. Now, the reason we had to make this as a parameter is so that we can make it dynamic from the front end, right? So I'm going to make a new page and let's call this as API calls. Click on create. Okay. Now we have created API calls. Like for example, we have created random joke, we have created cat fact. Let's quickly check how do we use this on the front end, because you do not want the users to come to the API connector and make these calls, right? You want this to be shown on the front end. So let's see how does that work. So I'll add a button here, right? And we want an API call to be made. Get a joke. Okay. Now, what are these called? What are these called? Whatever we add over here, what are these called? Anyone? Whatever we add here, what are these called? Workflows. So all put together is called the workflows, right? All of this put together are workflows. What of each of these called? What are you seeing here? Search for an action, right? So each of this step is called action, right? Now, if you go back to plugins, right, you see here you have two options: use as data or action, right? So if you want this to be used as an action, if you want that to come over here, right, then you need that as action, not as data. Okay. Now, if I search for random joke, I'll not get it. So I'll go here and search for random. I don't have anything. Let me go back to plugins. I'll make this as an action. Now I go back to workflows and search for random. I have simple APIs random joke. Okay. So I'll get this only if I make the APIs as action. Now, if the actions are coming over here, then where do we use the data? Let's see that, right? So I'll keep this over here. I'll add a text box over here. Okay. Please remember, I've not made the page layout anything apart from fixed. I've kept it as fixed for now. Okay. Going back to the text element, insert dynamic data, and we have get data from an external API, right? And here you can see all the APIs which are of type data. If we go back to plugins, API connector, right? We have one which is called cat fact as data. We have get age, which is also data. And that's why when you go here, you'll be able to select those two things, cat fact and get age. Let's go with cat fact for now, right? Now, there are two things that is being shown here, right? Fact, length, and raw body text. Raw body text is a different thing. The two parameters that we're getting from the API is fact and length, right? So if you go here, you can see we have a fact and then we have a length, right? So what we want to display is fact. We use that, and then we can also increase this to slightly bigger so that it can accommodate whatever fact we are getting. Okay. Now I've added the API call onto the front end. Let me click on this one, which is preview, and we'll be able to see the fact on the page. During the time of Spanish Inquisition, Pope Innocent VIII condemned cats as evil, and thousands of cats were burned. Unfortunately, the widespread killing of cats led to an explosion of the rat population. Explosion of the rat population with the effect of the Black Death. Oh my God. Refresh, you will get some new fact. Today, there are about 100 distinct breeds of domestic cats. Okay. Whenever you refresh, you are going to get a new fact. And if I share this link with you guys, if you open this, each one of you will get a different fact. Open the link and check what are you getting. Are you getting something else? Yeah, so you can see that each of you are getting different facts. Okay. And that's how this works. Now, for the action part of it, we have get a joke, edit workflow, and we have made the API call over here. Now we have to display the data on the front end. So for that, what we have to do is we have to add a group. Okay. And we can make this as a text group. Add a text within this group. And this we can tell parent groups text. Okay, just open it up so that it can take the entire this thing. And this is group joke text. Now, when we click on this particular button, we are making the API call. The next step, the next action that we have to do is display the data in a group. The group is group joke text, and the data is the result of step one. That is whatever result we are getting from the API call that we have made. Okay, from that we need setup. Okay, closely observe. I'm going to this particular page, refreshing the page, and I'll click on this particular button. Now what's happening is we are going to get only the setup, not the punchline. But this entire joke is a part of the entire joke has setup and punchline both. Okay. Otherwise, it might be meaningless. What did one wall say to the other wall? Right? We don't know what is the joke about because we have not added the second part. Okay. And in this case, what we have to do is we have to make this group as not text, but this is joke, random joke, right? And now this particular thing will be parent group's random joke setup. And the second line would be punchline. Okay. I'll just go to the group, add some spacing between. Okay. Let's go here. And now I'm going to click on this button. It runs. Oh, sorry. We have done some setting error here. We'll have to remove this setup. It's just result of step one, right? Now it should all be good. I'll click on get a joke. And then we get, why do pirates not know the alphabet? They always get stuck at C. Okay. So you can see the difference between the two, right? This one, you are getting it as soon as the page loads, right? So if the intention is that you want the details as soon as the page loads, then use it as what do we have to use if we want the data to load as soon as the page loads? Data or action? Right? And use it as action only if you want it to load once the user takes some action, right? So this loads only when I click on the button. Until then, it is not calling. A lot of times, API calls are required with some data that we send. For example, if you want to make an API call with OpenAI, right? The user needs to ask the question. Once they ask the question is when OpenAI will respond back, right? So in that case, we have to set it up as action, right? These are very simple examples where there is no input required. And hence, we can make it as data, right? Now let's look at the last example that we had done, which is get age, where we are giving the name, right? Now, again, I'm going to create a group. Okay. I'm going to add a button here. And this is get age. Now, we need to give the input, which is basically the name, right? So we have the input here. I'll put it over here. And we can say input your name. And when we click on this is when we want to make the API call. And that's why we will go here and change this from data to action. Right? So I'll click on add workflow. And what do we have here is get age, and it is asking us for the name. Now closely observe, the only reason why we are having this over here, or rather we have this name coming here as Ritesh, is because we have made it as a parameter and not private, right? So if I remove this one and add the name directly over here, okay, this particular call will not have any parameters. Each time you call, it will have the name as Ritesh itself, right? So to make something dynamic in the URL, right, we have to add the parameter like this, right? You can see here it has mentioned. This name, what we have given, could be anything, right? This could be name, this could be fill your name. It could also be naam, right? Whatever you want, you can put it there, right? And here the name will be given. By default, this will be private. If you make it as private also, this will not come here. Okay. It will come only if you remove this. You'll be able to add some dynamic details here. Now here I'll click on this one, insert dynamic data, and I'll search for the input box that we just added, which is input your name's value. Okay. So this will make an API call to the API setup that we have done here, which is get age along with the name that we have inputted. Now we have to display the details, right? So I'm going to this particular group, which is basically group get age, sorry, age, right? I'll make this as get age. Okay. This one is same as whatever name we have given here, get age, right? We set this particular group to that particular data type so that we can send the entire JSON as the input to it. So I'm going to element actions. I'm going to display data in a group. I'll select get age details, and this will be the result of step 1. Okay. Going back to the group, I'll add a text over here and I'll display the age over here. Parent groups get age. Now go back to the page, right? Input your name and click on get age. Okay. As we saw the previous time, it is showing 51 for my name. Please type in your name and see what is the age that it is showing here. This is some random number it is coming, right? Don't worry, it is not your age, or it is not giving that if you have this name, then your age is this. No, definitely not. There is no logic to it. Is this working for you, everyone? Use the same link that I've given before. Yeah. So this is how we set up the API call in the API connector. And this is how we link the API connector with the front end. Okay. We have seen two very simple examples. We have seen one with a parameter, right? Now let's go with the next one. Right. And okay, this is very similar. I mean, it just checks the gender of a name, right? Let's not get into that. Let's see some other example. Another useful example. So this is a good one, right? Request to exchange rate API, right? So we can give the exchange rate and you give input as USD and it will give you exchange for EUR, JPY, Great Britain pounds, and so on and so forth, right? So I'll take this particular URL, paste it over here. Missing access key. Okay. So this requires us to create some access keys and all. All right. So let's try to see from which platform do we have to do that. Answer to life, the universe, and everything. What is the number is passed in the URL path. HTTP query panel. So this requires some setup for us to do, which would be in this particular case, API.exchange rate.host. So let's go to this particular platform. And we'll have to create our account. Let's say sign up with Google. Select your Google account. Click on continue. My APIs. Let's even I'm not sure where exactly should we do this. Let's use ChatGPT for it. Okay. I am trying out exchange rate API. It's asking for some keys. What should I do? It says go here or here. Okay. So when we go to this one, it is taking us to this one. No, exchange rate.host. Okay. Get free API key. Right. So you can see that we have got free, then starter, and so on and so forth. Okay. So we can add our names. Oh my God. So many. Let's fill it out. Okay. Generate. The rate with 7.com. So the details is filled. Not a robot. Sign up. Okay. So you can now access your API access key. Visit dashboard. And this is the API key that we've got. Copy this, right? And we have to give the API key. And let's see how do we have to use that. Okay. You can see, so the query is actually this one, right? Firstly, it had given us the query is this, but it also requires us to give access token, right? So this is how we have to make it. So I'll copy this, go back to our app plugins. I'll now create another API. This I'll call it as medium. Okay. And I'll expand this. We will call this one as get exchange. I'll paste this URL. Right. Remove the get. from here because get is over here. And there are two things that we have to change here. One is this base USD, right, which can be a parameter. So we'll ask currency code, and the API key also needs to be changed. I'll go here, where is that? Here. I'll copy this, come back, the API key over here. Here we can make it as USD. Remove the private so that we can change it from the front end. Initialize call. So you get the details and it says missing access key. You have not supplied an API access key. Required format access key underscore key equals to your access key. API, okay. So it says it should be access underscore key. Okay. So what we have done is API underscore key. So I'll show you something interesting, right? So based on the error that we have got, take a screenshot. Let's assume that we have not understood what needs to be done. Take a screenshot, go to ChatGPT. I am getting this error. What needs to be done? Now you can see that the API call, okay, has got adjusted to access underscore key, right? So copy this, go back, right? Change this one. Of course, the API key needs to be updated over here, which is coming from here, and paste, right? Once you're done with this, click on reinitialize call. No API key found. Array, what is the issue here? Wait, it has given us some other exchange rate. Okay. Let's inform that we are using this particular thing. We are using that for the exchange. Maybe it was different before because it is telling do not include any access key parameter, do not use headers for APIs. Okay, but as we can see, it is not how it uses. That's not how it works. API request we don't have. Let's go to its documentation. Let's see if we have any API endpoints. Okay, this is how it actually works. So let's take a screenshot of this one. Okay, and let's put it over here. Let's try this one. It still says no API required. Let's try it out. And is it get or? Yeah. So we have UR to GBP, amount is 100. Missing API key. I think we have to create a parameter. Let's see what ChatGPT says. Let's quickly check if there is anything that we can. So we have to give a access key here. It's telling no. Maybe they have recently changed this, and that's why ChatGPT is not able to do the thing. But let's try it out. Okay. So what we need is and access key equals to okay, whatever access we had got from here. When the key. I'm going to copy this, coming back. Remove this, paste this. There you go. Right. So this works now. So as we see, success equal to true, right? And then we have query from EUR to GBP. Amount is 100. Okay. And timestamp is present timestamp. The value that we've got is 0.84. Okay. Which means if we send 100 euros, what we are getting back is 84.1943 GBP. Okay. I'll repeat this because it has taken us some multiple tries, right? So we have got this get exchange API call that we are doing. Okay. And we're using exchange rate dot host as the platform. Okay. And API dot exchange rate dot host is the subdomain that we are calling. Okay. And the function that we are calling is convert, right? This entire thing is the URL that we have to call, right? And we are telling from is EUR to is GBP. Now let's try to do this from USD to INR. Right, same amount, 100. Access key we have given. Let's reinitialize the call. So what we get is 8,491, right? So that means 100 USD is equivalent to 8,491 INR. Yeah. One last thing to do is to make this both as parameters. So from currency, and this we can remove to currency. Okay. Now remove this private, make it as USD, and this one to INR. You can also make the amount as the parameter. Okay. So remove this, make it as amount 100, remove it as private. Okay. Three parameters that we are giving over here. If you go to the front end, we can get this with three input parameters. Right. So, okay, I did it within the group. I'll have to remove it. This group also let us reduce slightly. Clear. Please keep in mind that I'm doing this with fixed layout. Okay, because we are understanding how the API works. Right. So, from currency to currency. And then we need amount. Right. And amount is nothing but number, integer. Or if you want decimal, then you can make it as decimal. I'll add the button over here. convert. Now we will add a group and we will make this as converted value. Text. So the group will be, we can make it as text value, and this one we can make it as parent groups text. One final thing, go back to plugin, change this from data to action. Come back to this particular button, convert, add workflow, and we'll search for convert. We don't have, what is the name we have given? Get exchange, okay. So search for get exchange. We have medium, get exchange. It's asking us what are the currency. So input from currencies value, input two currencies value. This is amount. Okay. The next step is same thing that we have done, which is display data, and it is a converted value, and this will be result of step one's result. Okay, it evaluates to it's a number, right? So I can actually make this group as number. You can see that this is working fine now. Let's go here. What is the currency that you want to exchange? Share me what is from currency to currency. Or you can also do it from your end, right? Refresh the page, give the currency that you're looking for. GBP, INR, let's say 1,000. Convert, right? So 1,000 GBP equals to 1,11,939.539 Indian rupees. Are you able to see this, everyone? Are you following? Can you quickly implement the exchange rate API? Because next up, we are going to implement the OpenAI API. And before we get there, I want you to understand how this API keys can be generated and how do we go about it. So please implement the exchange rate APIs. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Oh, yeah, let me share the exchange rate dot host. This is where you have to be. Create an account, get your access keys. It's free. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Another 10 minutes. Get this done, guys. Anybody who has done it, type out done in the chat box. Anyone who has completed it? Are you guys done? If you have questions, ask. Otherwise, do it. Don't talk. Hello guys, are you done? Okay, we're done for today. Thank you everyone. Have a nice evening.